Now he is more and more adaptable in this world. Even Kelvin became maniac fighting. He is always happy if his daily life is full of monster or dungeon battles. After that, we are shown a scene of a black steel knight and a demon sealed in a secret room.
フィーナとブルースライムのクロトが今の俺の仲間だ。こうして俺の異世界生活が始まった。
Kelvin had gone too crazy leveling for 1 week and he unlocked a new skill called Conceal. This Conceal skill hides one's own stats and identity so as not to be caught by the enemy. Kelvin also has an S-rank appraisal skill so he can accurately detect the opponent's stats and identity. After that, Kelvin goes to the Adventurers Guild. He got the promotion to an E-class adventurer for completing many quests. Angie congratulated Kelvin on his hard work these past few days. She was amazed by Kelvin because it was the first time an adventurer had risen to E-class so quickly without joining the party. Kelvin also frequently visited Angie to ask for quests, and because of that, Angie had feelings for Kelvin. Angie asked, "Is Kelvin an adventurer from the royal palace? Why are you able to level up alone so quickly?" Kelvin replied that he couldn't tell Angie the details, but Kelvin could actually level alone without a party. Then Kelvin asked for a D-class quest so that Kelvin's adventurer rank could rise faster. Angie worries about Kelvin's condition because his clothes, armor, and wand weapon were still the same this week. Angie suggested upgrading equipment so Kelvin would have no trouble fighting monsters later. The other adventurers here have been staring at Kelvin. They are suspicious because Kelvin's growth is not normal. Some adventurers don't like Kelvin, and some do, so it's balanced. Then a D-class adventurer named Cashel came to Kelvin. He is the strongest adventurer in town, 25 years old, level 34, mage swordsman class, referred to by the nickname Killer. Cashel suggested a D-class quest, which was to kill the dungeon boss of the Black Steel Knight. Angie was surprised and said that the Black Steel Knight was the strongest boss of the other dungeons. Kelvin had just reached Class E. It is impossible to kill the boss alone. If Kelvin forced it, he could have been seriously injured from the boss's attack. Therefore, Cashel invited Kelvin to join his party to kill the Black Steel Knight together. But Kelvin doesn't want to join Cashel's party and will attack the boss alone in the dungeon.
もちろん、私はソロで挑みます。その国霊騎士というモンスターをどちらが先に倒せるか自信に満ちているね。僕はそれでいいよ。
Melfina said that Kelvin is really too crazy to challenge Cashel's party. Kelvin understood the situation because Kelvin's growth was unnatural, so Cashel had to set him up to find out Kelvin's stats and real identity. Once they find out, Kelvin will be secretly killed. Melfina also said that Cashel's nickname Killer was very dangerous. She heard the news that Cashel's party was very suspicious and always targeted novice adventurers. Kelvin felt very excited, and his sense of fighting desire grew even more insane after hearing Melfina's words.
これまでのレベリングと修練の成果を発揮してみたいしな。
いいの？あの魔導士のお兄ちゃんに言わなくて。ケルミンさん、気をつけてください。ガンバです。ペス、たまります。
このギルドにカシェル以上の実力者はいないしな。
新人潰しが生きがいのやつだからな。
After chatting with Kelvin, Cashel meets his party members, Gimru and Raj. Kelvin's guess was correct. Cashel purposely trapped Kelvin so he could join this party, but he failed to invite Kelvin. Cashel's D-rank appraisal skill couldn't know Kelvin's stats, so Cashel's party should accept the challenge. This is also an excellent plan to kill Kelvin. Their experience level could increase drastically if they killed people instead of monsters. The next day, Cashel's party went to the Black Steel Knight boss dungeon. After arriving there, all the monsters were killed by Kelvin. They were shocked. How could a solo adventurer kill this many monsters? Then Kelvin greeted them all. Kelvin said the next room was where the Black Steel Knight boss was, so he would quickly kill him. Gimru and Cashel underestimated Kelvin's ability. A green wizard couldn't have great strength. Cashel's party could definitely kill Kelvin quickly. Then Cashel asked, "Why don't you kill the boss first? You've also killed all the little monsters." Kelvin replied that he understood Cashel's purpose in inviting him to the party yesterday. Kelvin wouldn't be fooled by such a thing, and he would fight Cashel's party first because their target was only to kill him. Cashel's party was shocked that their purpose had been found out by Kelvin. They were also scared and thought Kelvin was a disguised bandit hunter. Meanwhile, Kelvin just found out that they were a bandit. But Kelvin won't be afraid, and he will catch them all.
ビビってばかりのそこのデカブツてか最初に突っかかってきたのはお前だろ先輩方の狙いは俺でしょ今ここで相手になりますよ
貴様何をした。こんな泥沼程度、俺の筋力があれば。
足の隠蔽察知にも引っかからなかったっすよ。
それだけではない。これはスキル、隠蔽。
悪いが足はお先に失礼しやすよ。
てめえ逃げるんじゃね。
Gimru runs away, and Cashel will still kills Kelvin, but Kelvin wasn't going to let him go. He didn't want them to disturb the novice adventurers again. Then Kelvin summons Clotho so he can attack Gimru easily.
クロトがブルースライムから進化した。
こんなの知らないっすよ。なんすかこのスライム。
ま、背景派借りるぞカシェル先輩。
The scene shows when Kelvin kills the monster in the forest. After Kelvin finishes leveling for quite a while, Clotho becomes leveled up and evolves. Clotho's evolution slime is Glutton, a legendary slime known to be very strong. After fighting Cashel's party, Kelvin entered the dungeon boss room immediately. Kelvin used his ability to see the stats of the Black Steel Knight. He's called Garrod, 138 years old, level 53, and has very high attack and defense. Kelvin, who was basically a fighter maniac, wasn't afraid of fighting with Garrod. However, Kelvin changes his mind. He will make Garrod his follower, and Kelvin will discuss with him.
召喚師のケルビン、お前と契約したい。
Garrod began to talk about himself. Garrod used to be the leader of the knights in a kingdom called Alkal. King Alkal had died, and the kingdom had also disappeared. Garrod is willing to become Kelvin's follower because he has no family. Garrod said this was the first time someone had brought up a discussion like this. Other people usually just want to fight and kill Garrod. Garrod also didn't know why he could be the boss in this dungeon, even though he was a normal human. Garrod has a brave nature, but he also has a friendly personality and often jokes with the people around him. After Garrod agreed to his contract, Kelvin still wanted to fight with Garrod. He understood that Garrod would want to know Kelvin's abilities. Kelvin would prove it, so Garrod could believe him completely.
本気で来い。出なければ意味がないぞ。
クロトショットウィンド
全力で横にお飛びください。
ダースランパート。すごい本当にだけどスランパーこの未練が晴らせるのか。セガプラスだ。
これはどうするのがわしの未練。
嘘だろ。
Garrod was a follower of Kelvin now, and he started being reminded of his forgotten past. In the past, King Alkal was offered cooperation by Gildra, who came from the Lysia kingdom. Gildra wanted to make war and defeat the kingdom of god Doremus. But King Alkal refused because this kingdom was a place to live in peace and develop agriculture in every area. Because of that, Gildra was forced to spread a plague in the Alkal kingdom. Garrod's wife, Bethy, said their son must survive this plague at all costs. Then King Alkal and all the citizens died from the plague, including Garrod's wife, Bethy. So Garrod begins to take his son on an adventure to find a cure for the plague. But the longer the adventure, Garrod and Coney died somewhere. Then Garrod's spirit ended up being the boss in this dungeon. The next day, Kelvin went to the Adventurers Guild. Angie gave a reward because Kelvin had captured 2 bandits and defeated the Black Steel Knight. Some of the novice adventurers were happy that Kelvin was able to beat Cashel and his party. Cashel, Gimru, and Raj are already imprisoned and will be sentenced to death. Meanwhile, Kelvin must meet the guild leader named Rio. Angie was grateful that Kelvin wasn't hurt. She also said Kelvin would be promoted to adventurer rank specifically. After that, Kelvin will go to Rio's room. Garrod teased Kelvin, "Hey, that girl was beautiful. She seems to like you, Kelvin?" Melfina denied Garrod's words. Kelvin already belongs to Melfina, so he can't have any other girl besides her.
お前ら人の頭の中でうるさいぞ。
あなた様の婚約者は私ですよ。キュンキュン。
おい、エルフィーナは婚約してないし。ジェラール、小僧と呼ぶなとは言ったが、王はやめろ。
Then Kelvin met with Rio, and they were going to talk about the dangers that would happen to this world.